So hi guys, welcome to issues 59 and 60 of the Eddie Stobart. I may have a slight problem in that I have a small kitten on my desk. She seems to want to help stroke play. We'll see if it's a problem, but yeah, she's coming back. We'll see what happens.
The road from coast to coast, Yorkie and me rolling on. 'Cause a long day's run can be short on fun without Yorkie to help me along.
Okay, cat isn't a problem now. I've just popped her on the floor while we did the intro, and hopefully everything will be fine. So this is issue 59. And I think it looks more complicated than it is, but we'll see how it goes. I will confess, this is an issue that I helped Chris Davis World with, and he had some problems, and he fixed them because he had a couple of parts the wrong way round, but it's all good. Right, so the biggest issue I can see here is pieces 1, 2, 4 and 5 are tanks which look very similar to each other, so we may have to we'll have to work on a what you call it, a process of elimination. So piece 1 is possibly this one, upper tank, air tank, bottom. Let's put that there, and then number 2 has some jaggy out bits, so there we go. That's the jaggy out bits. See them there? That's number 2. Number 4, I am deliberately missing number 3. So number 3 has 2 holes, but they're up and down. So that's 4. And number 5 has 2 holes, but they're going in line. That leaves piece 3 and 6. And as you can see, they're both cats. And the cat's desperate to join us, so you can just see a paw coming in there. So keep an eye on her for me, guys, because she is a playful cat and she will play with my parts. So I can't see any difference. I think they're the same. They've got number 1 written on the inside. So right, I'm sorry Missy, I'm going to put you on the floor. There you go, good girl. I'm getting all my kitten scratches on my wrists, as per every cat owner in the world. Right, so piece number 7 is an air tank support rack, and that doesn't look quite right, but that is definitely it. Piece 8 is the filter, and that looks filtery. Piece number 9 is I'm going to call it an E-shaped set of pipes, but they call it pipeline. I'm going to pop those there. No, come on Missy. And then 10 and 11 are tank holders, and these look the same to me. I don't know why they've numbered them differently. It makes you think they're different parts. 12 is a T-shaped 3-way pipe connector, and then where are we up to? 13 is a L-shaped 2-way pipe connector. 14 and 15 are both pipes. 14 is a short pipe and 15 is a long pipe. You can see why they're called those. Come on Missy, give up. I'm going to put you on the floor every time. If she's still around, I'll let you see her at the end of the video. And then we've got 3 sets of screws, DPO7s, DDO4s, and should be DPO6. So let's crack on. So this is where I've seen it gone wrong. you need to take piece 7, take the filter 5908, check how it fits over the screw socket. So there's a screw socket there, and it's going to go either that way or that way, and I believe it goes this way. Now if you put this in upside down, you're going to have problems at the end of the build, but you won't discover it's upside down until you've done all the bit in between. And as you can see, there's a lot of parts. So we want to make sure that if these two legs are pointing upwards, this tank is pointing downwards, which means it's going to go in this way, and that doesn't quite feel so natural. That's probably why you might accidentally put it upside down, but that is definitely the correct way. So we need to take a DP6 screw. There's only 2 in the bag, so we're only after the 1. You know how these things work. 1 screw is spare. So we'll load my screw up ready on the screwdriver, and we'll hold this piece in. Hold it as best we can with our fingers, and then we'll just pop that screw in, and that's gone in very nicely. Very, very nicely. Right, so next step, we want to move the chassis around so that we're looking at the near side. If you're in America, this would be the off side, also known as the left. And we're looking for some holes. Now they've circled them in blue and yellow, and they've marked these 2 holes there in blue and these 2 in yellow, and that's what I thought. So the 2 pegs, the 2 pegs are going to go in the upper holes, which are circled blue, and the bottom 2 are screw holes, and it's going to go in like that. And then they're going to be secured in with 2 DD4 screws. That's obviously going to fall out when no, it's not. Right, so there's only 3 screws, so that's the end of this particular one. So I need to get that first screw in. I was asking too much there, wasn't I? So finding the holes for the pegs, get that first screw in, and then you don't have to worry about this little air tank bit first, because it'll just hold it. So that screws in just enough to bite, and then we can get this second screw in, and we can drive that all the way in. I could do with a slightly longer screwdriver here, but this is managing fine. I do have extension bits which I could use. There we go, that's in. No movement on there. So the next step is to take the bottom of the upper tank 59.1, which is this one, fit it over the raised screw sockets, and we want this little hole to be poking out. So that is, I'm going to turn this upside down, I think, or hold it upside down so that I can see fit it over the raised sockets. It's not fitting. Why is it not fitting? Is it because I've got it? No, that rounded bit is definitely on the inside. That's, so the question is, no, I think I've got the wrong piece. Yeah, I think I've got the wrong piece. This is why it's all trial and error. But that's not going to, no, that was the right piece. So just check 59.1. Does it just go? Because I can't get that in, look. Oh, I'm an idiot. I've placed it upside down. So yeah, that's why I can't get it in. So you've got the screw sockets there, and the holes there go over. So yes, I'm an idiot, absolute idiot. So that wants to be secured with DP7 screws, which are these ones, and we've got 5 screws, which suggests that we're going to be doing some more screwing with these later on. So as per normal, we're going to screw the first one in just enough to bite, and that's going to hold that tank. Then we will pop the second one in, and that can go all the way. Because we're screwing into plastic, we want to feel for the resistance to change. We don't want to over screw, over tighten. I'm going to just change that head, that's far too small. Using the correct screwdriver head really does make screwing more efficient. There we go, that's in nice and tight. And then we want to take we want to turn the assembly over, check how the top of the lower tank fits. So be careful, I'm using my purple cloth. 59.5, which is, let me just double check, is this one, because I always lay the parts in the same way that they've laid them out in the magazine. So I can see that that's number 5. And that wants to go in to there. Exactly the same as the other side, but obviously it's slightly different. So that wants to be screwed in with 2 DP7 screws. And same as before, you know what, I've said that I put the wrong screwdriver head on. That was actually the wrong one as well. So, right. So first screw goes in just enough to bite, and then the second one can be driven in all the way. And then we'll just tighten the first one up again. That's in, no movement, I'm very happy with that. So next we want to take the bottom of the lower tank 59.2, which is this one, and fit the long pipe into the peg, which is this side. So be very careful, guys. Now some people like to lick the end. That's fine if that's the way you want to do it, but I found that that's gone on fine. So on this side, because we've got the mudguard upside down, we want to feed that through there somehow, and then we place this, the pipe goes through the open part of the rack. Right, so there's the rack, it needs to go through there. I don't know if you can see it. Let's see if we can get a better view from the other side. So see, it's coming up through the rack. And then I suspect the next stage, which is on the other, I've got to turn the page for, is put the tank on. It's a push fit connection. Fit the bottom of the lower tank to the top. This is a push fit connection. I just guessed that word for word. So I said before about, you know, losing the flow. I think what I've just done there is proven that I haven't lost the flow as much as I thought. Right, so I'm pushing that in. I've got to be careful. I want to push where the connections are, and I don't want to break anything. But that's gone in absolutely fine. That should have a big hole, shouldn't it? So yes, what we're going to do now, oh, that looks wonderful. So this end, it's got 2 holes, and there's 2 pegs there. You want to line those pegs up. Now these are all push fit connections, but I can't see why you couldn't use a bit of glue. What I tend to find with push fit connections is when you first put them on, they go on absolutely fine. If for whatever reason you need to remove that, it won't hold quite so well the second time. So get it right the first time. You probably won't need any super glue. Start fiddling around with it, you may well do. Okay, so right, so we now need to I've gotten a muddle. Right, so we need to pop this tank and place the top there. Is that correct? That just seems a little bit too easy. So that wants to go on exactly the same way as the other tank, and then we pop the cap on the end, and this will prove to me whether they are the same piece or not. There we go. That didn't seem to go on quite so firm, but it has gone on. But look, there's two air tanks for you, and all of a sudden there aren't many pieces left. Right, so this shows the 2 air tanks with caps in place. So the magazine orientation, this is coming out this way a little bit. Right, so fitting the pipes. So what we want to do is we want to take the short pipe 5914 and fit the 3-way connector 12 on the one end. Note that the nuts on the part 12 are not the same size. Fit the pipe into the end with a larger nut. Right, so we're looking for some, so there's a nut there and a nut there, and I would suggest that that one on the left is the larger one, so we need to move it that way and pop the pipe onto there like so. Now I am a little bit worried at this point because I believe this is an issue that I helped someone fix. We were doing a live chat to help him fix, and I do believe that what I ended up saying was skip a stage, carry on, then go back, which we often do. So I'm just wondering if I'm doing this correctly. Right, so the other side fits onto the 2-way connector. So there's only one way this can go. You've got a little peg there, and then that's a large peg at the bottom. So I don't like that. I've just got it round twisted a little bit. So this is always a prayer moment because I don't want to snap that peg off. If you did snap that peg off, it's probably not the end of the world. You could probably get a small hobby drill, drill a hole through, put a little tiny piece, cut a little piece of paper clip or some kind of tube, wire, and then you can glue that into this end. And you basically are making a new pipe. So that's that. It's not the end of the world. Right, so fit the other end of the 3-way connector to the long pipe 5915. So now we're getting a little tiny bit complicated. Not complicated, fiddly. Because I don't know if I need to twist that. And again, it's playing with another peg. But that's gone on fine. And then what we want to do is fit the tab on the base of the 3-way connector into the rectangular hole. So that looks like it's going to go there, like so. But that wants to come out a bit more, doesn't it? Now, yeah, grab that by the sides, do not push it on the top, it's far too delicate. And I think I've just done that the wrong way. I want to bend it round. You see how it comes round and then back on itself? And then this other end wants to go down into that hole there. So I am going to use some tweezers. I think that will be easier. So the way I need to do this, I know that pipe's coming down, so I need to grab this the wrong way so that when I twist it, it then spins round to the correct way. And as per, every time I use tweezers, I can't get enough force to push it into the hole. Right, there was a reason I couldn't push that in the hole. It's very, very hard to see there, but that hole, but I'm going to take it out because I want to show you this. Can you see that that's not a hole, that's a very slight line, and this has got a slight flattening to it. So it forces that to go in at an angle, like so. See how it comes out at an angle, goes round into there, down, and then into there. So that's really nice. Really happy with that. And lastly, I say lastly, we've got 3 pieces to fit. We need to take the pipeline. Now we need to get this in the right orientation. Right, so this is what they've labelled the middle, which is obvious. And then can you see you've got a tab sticking out? That tab needs to be at the bottom, and at the bottom the tab needs to be at the top, and that's going to go into 3 places. Right, it needs to go into that hole there. The middle goes into that hole, which is why if you put that on upside down, that piece will be on the other side and you can't reach it. Now I seem to remember that what I told my friend was to put the middle in first, not worry about the top and the bottom, and then we'll manipulate the top and the bottoms later. And that does not want to go in because I cannot get the force with the tweezers. So whether you need to hold this as far close to the bottom as you can get a little bit more force, but you need to focus that force. Do you know, I might possibly need to drill that hole in there a little bit more and then just pop a drop of glue in. Let's try it a different way. Let's put the top and the bottom into the tanks first, and then we'll see if we can manipulate the middle from there. And I think that's upside down, you know. No, it's not. It just feels a bit funny. This is very, very fiddly, guys. I don't mind telling you. So let's try the top first. I don't know if it's easier to use it with tweezers or without. Right, that's the top in. It's not in fully, but the peg has gone into the hole. So once they're in the hole, we can adjust later on. I wonder if these have not been see, that is definitely the right way round, isn't it? Right. I think there's too much around the end. I think that's why it's not going in. So let's see if I've got, I think there's just a little bit too much paint. So what I'm going to do is remove this. I'm just going to get a piece of sandpaper or emery board in this case, or a file, anything that you've got, and I'm just going to take just a tiny bit off. I'd rather take a tiny bit off and it turns out I'm not taking enough off and then I've got to take more off than for it to be too loose. However, if it is a bit too loose, we can always pop a touch of glue on there, but let's try not to do it with glue. But I can see that where the mould, looks like the mould has slipped a little bit, So you've got a seam line, and it's that seam line that's causing the issue. Right. Oops. I apologise if I accidentally sniff. I'm getting over a big bout of hay fever, and it has similar effects to a cold, but I've just got a really bunged up sinuses where everything's just built up. That's gone in lovely. It was a little bit stiff. Right, so now we're going to pop the top one in, because we know that fits because we popped it in earlier, and then all we have to do now is worry about this one, and that's not quite gone in, but it sits really nicely. Don't know if you can see. Try. Yeah, the focus isn't fantastic. So I've got three options. I can take this whole pipe out and just scrape a little bit, because that's obviously too much. I can cut the end off and let it just sit in the right position because it seems to want to. Or option 3, which I'm going to take, I'm just going to leave it like that. See, it doesn't, what I'll do is I'll point to it, then I'll get the focus. It's just there. I think it's okay. That bit's in and that bit's in, so that's fine. Right, so on to the next step, and I think this is the hard bit actually. We need to put these tank holders in. Now they need to go over the pipe, and then they need to sit in these holes on the pipe on the bottom of the tank. So, and I can see little runners for them, which might actually make it easy. Do you know what? These pipes are actually quite flexible. I'm doing the back one first because that looks harder. And I'm going to need tweezers, I think. And I think what we need to do is manipulate one. It's very hard to show you what I'm doing, guys. I do apologise. Right. See, this side is definitely easier because I can manipulate with my fingers a little bit. And I think even if I can't get both of them in the hole, I think if I get one in, I think it will hold it and the second one will rest. Right, come on. Right, I'm going to try the other hole, the other side. Yeah, that hole's just a little tiny bit too small. So I'm just, because it's plastic, I'm just running my tweezers in just to stretch the hole ever so slightly. Right, that's fine, that's going to go in. So we'll pop that holder over. Not liking these, I'll be honest with you. They're just too fiddly. Fiddly, fiddly. Right. Right, that end is in. And that end is in. And they are level with the runners, and that's in. That is in, and I think that's the harder one because there's less. So I don't know if you can see that's going over the top. Okay, so now we need to pop the second one in, and we'll see if we've got the same issues with the fit in the peg, which we have. So I'll just pop my tweezers in there. I would normally say use a file, but I'm being a bit lazy. So I can just stretch that hole a little bit with the tweezers. This one I'm going to have to come in from underneath. There we go. It's just stretching the hole very slightly. I don't know if I just blocked the camera with my headphones there. I do apologise if I did. Okay. So see, that's gone in quite nicely on that side. We'll see how nicely in a minute when I put this side in. Oh, that's beautiful. Almost. There we go. So that part is actually, for me, is very delicate. But when it's the sort of thing you're not really going to fiddle with. I suppose you could pop a drop of glue in there if you were worried. I don't think it's going to need it. Just so long as, you see there, you've got a little runner. Focus. Got a little runner there. Just make sure that pipe is in there, and that's fitting as nicely as it can then. And there we go. And that is that issue done. So the next step is stage 60, and this looks like A, a completely different area, and B, a lot simpler. So I'm going to move the chassis. So here we have the parts for issue 60. Oh, if I can get them out. So we have got 6001 and 6002, which is the right and left anti-sway bar holders. Excuse me. Now, if you have these two bits pointing upwards, one is going to point off to the right and one is going to point off to the left. The right one points off to the right, and then the left one obviously points to the left. Then we have the front wheel axle, and we've got left and right on there. That's very handy. And then we have the anti-sway bar. This is piece 5. I have skipped 4 because 4 is a couple of pins. We've seen this before, but a little bit smaller. And then lastly we have DD04 screws, which I'm just going to save a bit of time, and I'm going to pop those out onto my cloth. So fit the right anti-sway bar 1 in the recess in the right hand end of the axle 3, marked R. So that means it's going to go in that way, or that way. Right. I think this is not right. Hello, Shadow Mate. Right, so we've got wrong bit. So this is piece 3. That's where the R is. Let me just double check. The right one points to the right, which is that one, and that needs to go right. So the recess is there. Right, so with this bit, you see that there's a slightly bigger bit on the bottom that needs to go in. Shadow Mate, you are now in my way. I was expecting a different kitten. Right, I fitted it the wrong way round. No, I haven't. I think these bars are the wrong way round. Because they're labelled incorrectly. And let me show you why I know. So piece 1, the right anti-sway bar, looks like this one because it points off to the right. But then, if you look closely, it's got an L stamped in it. Very hard to see, but this one has got an R in it, which is a little bit more clear. I can't show you on the camera. Shadow, you really can't sit there. I love you so much, but you are in my way. So I'm so sorry, and I'm going to do this on camera, and there's going to be thousands of people tell me how cruel I am. I'm going to have to pick you up. But maybe you could go on my lap. There you go, my man. So, right. So yes, we need to look at the labels, not the numbers. I think that's incorrectly labelled. So if you imagine this as pointing downwards, and then we want this to go there, so that it's pointing outwards. Oh, come on, mate, this isn't fair. I'm trying to have some film time. See, when he was a kitten, he used to do this, but he used to play for 10 minutes, and then he'd sleep for half an hour. So you don't mind dropping everything. Right, so going back to this, we want one screw in the middle, and that doesn't sound a lot, but because you've got a couple of locating pins in there, it's actually being secured in 3 areas despite only one screw. I think I may have to stop filming. I don't think he's going to give up, is he? Yeah, I know you just want love, because now that I'm filming this, you're telling everybody in the world that you get no love at all. But we know you're wrong. You get loads of love. So come on, matey. There you go. I feel horrible because I don't, with work and things, I don't get that much time to fuss him. You know, I'm not at home 24 hours a day. Right, so what I'm doing here is I'm putting the left one on, exactly the same as the right, except that it goes on the left, and that's going in. Just seeing if I can see. Yeah. So you can still see the L and the R on the actual sway bar. So that's that in nice and simple. So the next step is we want to take the anti-sway bar, and that's going inside there like so, and this is where the pins are going to come in. So I'm just going to take a moment to check the magazine. I want to know if the pins come in from that side or they come in from that side, and whether they come in rough side first or last. Now I can see they come in rough side last, so you see there, this is big enough to pick up. So the rough side is there, and they're going to come in from this side. So for the first one, I would suggest just popping the pin in just a little bit. In fact, actually that's holding quite nice. So we can push our luck, and we can pop the other side in as well. But we don't want any of the pin showing. This one's a little bit looser. Right, so we don't want any of the pins showing. You see that that's probably perfect. So we're going to just push this one back so there's a little bit showing. And the reason we don't want it showing is because otherwise we won't be able to get the bar in. So we'll pop the bar in, and then as we, oh, you know, that's fallen out, but I'm going to leave it. So we want to push that, and then hopefully, I wouldn't get pliers on this particular step. See, I'm just pushing that in just so it holds it. It's not all the way in, and that's fine. So what I'm going to do now, if you can see through the hole, you can line that anti-sway bar, that bar up, and then we're just going to pop that pin in. This is the looser one. So I'm holding the rough end, lining that bar up, and then pushing it in, trying not to drop the end, obviously. That helps. You may actually find, rather than using regular tweezers, they do a set of, I call them backwards tweezers. I'll see if I've got some. These are the backwards tweezers, and they actually lock shut, and you push them to open them, whereas normal tweezers you push them to close them. You may find that easier because look, you don't have to do anything to hold them. And then you let go, you push it to let go. Right, so that pin is in as far as I can with a finger, and then I'm going to push that in a little bit more. Then I'm going to look at it and go, am I happy? Yes, I am happy. So what I'm going to do now is get my pliers, and I'm going to be a bit lazy. You probably want to put a bit of masking tape on there just to prevent damage, but I'm too lazy today to do that. And then using the very ends, we push that in, and that pin has fallen out again. So maybe a good suggestion is just to do one pin at a time. Sorry, I've had to change tweezers because that other pair of tweezers got a bent end, so it's not going to hold the piece quite so securely. So I've got these tweezers which are actually probably quite inappropriate. It's just too much bend on the end. Right, there we go. Ah, that's gone in. That's gone in lovely. Right, so there we go. So on this particular one, it's kind of crunched when it went in. It's where it's cutting into the metal. But that is that done. So that's some kind of anti-sway bar. Right, so that is it. The anti-sway bar connectors and an anti-sway bar have been fitted to the front axle. That is issue 59 and 60 complete. And in the next issue we'll be working on some hubcaps and brake parts, which I look forward to that one. So little bit longer than I wanted the video to be, but okay, you know, it is what it is. But that's that done. Little bit fiddly, very enjoyable. So all it leaves me now is to say goodbye, and I will catch you in the next video. Take care, guys.